You're listening to The Corbett Report. CorbettReport.com.
Music has charms to soothe the savage breast, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Well, tonight we're going to be talking about music, and we're going to be talking about its effects, deleterious and otherwise. Also, its effect in helping to spread a truth message. And this will probably not be something that's totally unfamiliar to regular listeners of this broadcast, as we like to quite regularly feature some of the truth music that is helping to spread the word about some of these issues that can be extremely difficult to spread the word on sometimes, because it is not the type of information a lot of people want to hear, is it? Well, welcome to the program. This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, and I am coming to you, as always, from my palatial home recording studios here in Western Japan. And it is the Monday night edition of the broadcast, Tuesday morning for me, and we are going to start a new week of broadcasts here, and we're going to kick it off tonight with a very special conversation with Joshua Owens. And for those of you who are paying attention, you might remember Joshua and his work that I premiered here a couple of weeks ago, Humanity is Rising. It was a song that I played here on the broadcast, quite popular, and I'm glad to see a lot of people took it to heart and helped to spread that video. So tonight we're going to be talking to the man behind the music, Joshua Owens. Once again, his YouTube page is Jack Jeremiah Johnson, and of course I'll link that up in the show notes for tonight's episode, which is, as always, and will be available at CorbettReport.com. And you can also go to his Bandcamp website, where you can purchase his songs, and you can choose how much you want to pay for them. So that's, I think, the best way to do it. And so, of course, the link to that will also be in the show notes for tonight's episode. We're going to be talking to Joshua tonight about his music and his influences, what types of subjects he's interested in, and I know he's done some research on the Federal Reserve, so we'll be talking to him about that as well. So it should be an interesting conversation. We're also going to be opening up the phone line, so if there's anything you'd like to talk about, either questions or comments or anything that's on your mind, either for myself or for tonight's guest Joshua Owens, you can reach us at 1-800-313-9443. But I just wanted to start tonight's broadcast by letting people know about, of something that's pretty big for me anyway, that's coming up this month. I'm going to be not only attending a conference that's going to be taking place in Kuala Lumpur later this month in Malaysia, but I'm actually going to be one of the presenters at a conference that is going to be called 9/11 Revisited, Seeking the Truth. And this is a conference that is going to be preliminary to a war crimes tribunal that's going to be taking place there in Malaysia. And that's part of this, the Kuala Lumpur War Crimes Tribunal that's happening, that has been happening. They of course came to a conclusion about Bush and Cheney back in the previous edition of this War Crimes Tribunal last year. And they're going to be talking about Palestine this year. So I'm going to be in attendance at that conference, and I'm going to be speaking on the preliminary conference, which is about 9/11 truth in particular. So I'm getting ready for that. That's a huge thing for me personally. There's going to be other speakers there, including Richard Gage and Graham McQueen and Michelle Chossudovsky. So I'm going to be preparing for that. That's actually going to be on November 19th, and then the Palestine War Crimes Tribunal will be on the 20th to the 22nd. So I'm going to be gone for about a week coming up later this month. And in preparation for all of that, of course, I'm going to need some time to get my stuff together, get my presentation ready, and get all of that in good working order. So for the rest of this month, until that conference happens, I'm going to be airing rebroadcasts on the Friday night editions of this broadcast. So I will not be joining you live on Friday nights. Also, for people who are tuning into the podcast each week, usually, of course, that's coming out on Monday nights. Well, again, until the conference is over and done with, I will not be doing the podcast. So I just released the latest podcast episode just a few hours ago, and you can download that right now from CorbettReport.com. But that'll be the last one until the conference is over, so until the end of the month. And I'll just be taking a break from that. But of course, the rest of the radio shows and videos, etc. will be going up as normal. I just need a little bit of extra time to work on this conference presentation. Of course, I'll have the video of that and all of that when I get back from Kuala Lumpur. But on that note, we're going to take a short break. We're going to be back with Joshua Owens right after this.
Don't let them win, you over. That's what they're hoping for. They want to shutter your mind and shackle it to the floor. It's not hard to figure out the lies you're being told. There is a playbook, an agenda, a blueprint, a goal. So open your eyes wide enough to see you're the target they are aiming for. You're the enemy. Now in order to defeat them and take back what is yours, you must expose what is evident, what is clearly coming forth. There is a good, there is a bad, there is a side you have to choose. Don't underestimate what they are willing to do. Don't underestimate what they are willing to do. It's a new world that's coming when the old world's dead. The empire is burning down, we're hanging by a thread. It's time to panic, to react, to stop this war. Humanity is rising and the truth is coming forth. Whoa! To breathe, we are no longer free. There is a reason they don't give you time to think. That's why the television's there to bide your time. There are lies on top of lies just to rule your mind. The water's unfit to drink, the food isn't fit to eat. There is a reason they don't give you time to think. There's a reason they don't give you time to think. It's a new world that's coming when the old world's dead. The empire is burning down, we're hanging by a thread. It's time to panic, to react, to stop this war. Humanity is rising and the truth is coming forth. Humanity is rising and the truth is coming forth. Whoa! To the questions, there is solid proof. With the camps to keep you in, the laws to keep you quiet. Tyranny is here, there is no choice to deny it. But what comes next? We head into the long night. In the info war, we have just begun to fight. But what comes next? We head into the long night. In the info war, we have just begun to fight. In the info war, we have just begun to fight. It's a new world that's coming when the old world's dead. The empire is burning down, we're hanging by a thread. It's time to panic, to react, to stand once more. Humanity is rising and the truth is coming forth. Humanity is rising and the truth is coming forth.
All right, friends, welcome back. Of course, you are tuned into Corbett Report Radio for this Monday night edition, and I'm your host, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. That, of course, is the excellent new song from Joshua Owens. It's called Humanity is Rising. Once again, you can find it on YouTube, youtube.com/Jack Jeremiah Johnson. You can also find it at Joshua Owens' Bandcamp website. Of course, the links to that will be in the show notes for tonight's episode, so you can go download that for yourself and help spread it around and get other people tuned in and turned on by music, because everyone can relate to music. Everyone loves music. So, Joshua Owens, great to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, James. Great to be here.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about Humanity is Rising. I know it's getting a lot of play online, and so far almost 20,000 views for the video. Awesome. Great to see that going to such a deserving song. Tell us a little bit about the song and how it came together.
Well, I guess now it was about 3 weeks ago. I sat down and I've played music for a long time, and I guess I've never written songs having to do with waking people up or these types of issues, because I'm not really sure why. I just haven't. And about a month or two ago, I sat down and I wrote "It's Good for You," and I I put that up. InfoWars actually posted it on their website. And I put that up, and then about 3 weeks later, I had finished Humanity is Rising and threw that up. And I guess I was influenced more, not creatively so much as I felt like I needed to find an outlet to get my feelings about certain things out there. And sometimes music is just a lot more receptive to certain people. Some people don't want to hear about these certain types of issues when you're just having a conversation with them. And sometimes if you can put music to words that mean something, then more people will be receptive to it, I think.
Absolutely, and not just music, but visual art as well. The stuff that Mir One is doing with graffiti art. I'm just so excited by people taking this and just putting it in whatever artistic expression they can. And I think it's so important to try to reach out to people on these issues in all sorts of different ways. Because of course, this isn't just news that we read about in a newspaper or just sit there and watch a video online. This is something that affects our daily life, so it's going to affect everything, and of course music is a good way to relate to people on an emotional level. So again, my hat's off to you for doing this. And as I understand, you did all the music for that, all the instruments?
Yeah, I did.
Excellent. One-man band. And you did the animation as well?
Yes.
Josh, is there anything you can't do?
There's quite a lot.
Well, we won't get into that, but let's talk. Of course, everyone always wants to hear about the waking up story, or how did you start to come into this information, and what kinds of things got you interested in this in the first place?
Well, it was about 2007, and I had some friends over, some friends from out of town over. And they sort of started talking about water fluoridation and 9/11 and Alex Jones. And so I went to his website, I watched a few of his movies, and that just sort of piqued my interest. I started listening to his radio show. I found you through you being on his show. I listened to Gerald Celente, Max Kaiser, a lot of people that are influential to me. And from there, I guess it's history.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much the way it goes. It doesn't take a lot. Once the penny drops, I think it tends to drop all the way. But for you, vaccination, water fluoridation, those are some of the key issues?
Oh, yeah, big time. Well, when it comes to our health, that's, of course, a physical thing that we're being affected by. So, of course, that's important. But also think other things. Well, I mean, there's so many things. That's, I guess, why they call it going down the rabbit hole, because it's almost unending. When you find one thing, it connects to another thing, and then that connects to another thing, and before you know it, you've been sitting online for a month straight and reading books and trying to find all this information out. And it can be hard to take in at the beginning, at least, because there's so much.
Well, that's exactly right. It can be so overwhelming that's I think one of the reasons why some of the people like to stay in the Matrix, because it's just so much easier. How about your own experience in trying to talk to other people about this type of work? I mean, obviously, if you're doing music, then as one form of expression, it probably has a much different effect than if you're just talking to people about it in a conversation. Yeah,
drastically. When I first started becoming awake, which is a process that I'm still going through, you try and talk to people and they sort of shut down, because there are these preconceived notions that if you believe this, then you are categorized as this. So once you say one thing, for instance, if you are pro-gun rights, then all of a sudden you are a conservative Republican, and you are put into this box. And you're put into these boxes, so people sort of shut down, or they just assume that they know what you're going to say next, and that's really not what it's about. But people, it's really 50-50. Some people are really interested in it, and some people don't want to talk about it. They get offended, they get angry, because they don't want their reality shattered by this information. But what I've come to find out by posting these 2 music videos is that a lot of people, I've gotten a lot of positive response from it, and from a lot of people that I probably wouldn't have gotten a response from if I was just sitting down talking to them about it.
That's exactly right. Again, I think it's kind of slips past the defenses, and I think as you say, some people can be just totally not interested in talking about it, and I think it's probably best not to pester people about this, because again, we don't want to turn them off of information that they might one day find interesting just because we were, bugging them about it. But again, it's just how you slip it into conversations, etc. But obviously, before you were interested in this, I assume you've been interested in music for a long time. How long have you been writing songs?
I've been writing songs, I guess, since I was 13, maybe. I've been actually recording music on my own is sort of a new thing for me, because I've been in a band ever since I was probably 15. And all through high school, right after high school, I was in a touring band, and we toured all along the East Coast. And that's what my life consisted of, was recording records and playing shows. And I just decided that's not what I wanted to do anymore. And I started writing music on my own. And I've been doing that now for a little while, but not really putting much of it out until I found an outlet to actually put it out, and I'm doing something positive or something of worth.
Exactly right. I mean, that makes all the difference. For me personally, I know that that I couldn't have imagined that I would have found something like this that I cared so deeply and passionately about, and now I'm actually blessed enough to be able to do this for a living. So I do not take that for granted, and I hope that other people can be energized by the passion that they feel for the issues that affect them, whether it's vaccination or whatever it may be. But on that note, let's take a short break. We're coming up against our break here, so we'll take a short breather. Once again, we'll be back talking to Joshua Owens, and once again, you can find his YouTube website and his Bandcamp, so you can go and support the work and help to make it possible. And that will be in the show notes for tonight's episode, corbettreport.com. So stay tuned right there. We'll be right back. All right, friends, welcome back to the broadcast. Nothing like a little Mozart to get us on our way here for our conversation, talking about music and the way that it can be used, hopefully to help spread truth and enlightenment in one form or another. But if nothing so grandiose, at the very least, we can have a good time while we're talking about things that actually matter. Once again, you're tuned into Corbett Report Radio, and we're talking to Joshua Owens, who is the songwriter behind some great new songs, including Humanity is Rising and songs like It's Good For You, which we'll be listening to a little later in the broadcast. But first, let's talk, Josh, a little bit about musical influence. I wouldn't venture to say from the few songs that I've heard what your influences might be, but generally speaking, who are some of the musicians out there that have helped you to find your voice?
I guess one of my biggest influences when it comes to political music, actually, no, just in general music, would be Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan, 60s music, John Baez, Peter, Paul, and Mary. I love that music so much. And obviously I didn't listen to that music when I was younger and when I played in bands. That's not the kind of music I played. But that music resonated with me more than anything, because I guess I just love the sound of just broken down, nothing but acoustic, which I know that's not how my music is. But the message behind them, just sort of people taking their outlet, which is music, and then using it for something beneficial, like Woody Guthrie talking about his machine kills fascists. And he had a purpose for, he had a cause, something that was affecting his life. So he went out and he traveled and he turned it into something positive, and he reached a lot of people through that. And just like Bob Dylan in his earlier years with The Times They Are Changing and all these great songs and great records that he put out that I think influenced a lot of people in a positive way. So that's just something that I got from that. And also more modern music, more in the 90s, like Rage Against the Machine. I loved them. And it's just good to go somewhere, like turn a radio on, look up a music video, find something, and then see a message in it that is more than just a catchy tune or more than just what is trending whenever it's out.
Exactly right. Well, I didn't want to be presumptuous, but I can definitely hear the influence and see how you've transmuted it in something like Humanity is Rising. So I think you did an excellent job with that, because I think the spirit and the power and the message of that, 60s folk music, for example, comes through in a song like that, which is genuinely catchy, but genuinely has an excellent message that's very clear and clearly delivered. So again, it's extremely difficult to do something like that, and I don't write songs myself, but I can appreciate what goes into writing a good song. So I do appreciate it's a talent, and I'm glad that you're using it for that. So what kind of music were you playing in your bands when you were touring?
It was more rock music. We the last band I was in, I think we toured for about a year off and on, and yeah, it was nothing focused on anything productive or putting out anything. It was just fun.
Right. And sometimes that's what music is as well. So I don't want to make it too much of a grandiose endeavor. I mean, sometimes it is just fun, but honestly, I think you definitely have a talent for it. Well, you, as I understand, are right there in Georgia, right next to the birthplace of the beast, as it were, the Federal Reserve. And I understand you were hanging out at Jekyll Island not too long ago for a video report. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, the reason I did that was there was a InfoWars reporter contest that I saw, and I figured why not enter it and go talk to some people, because I had been to the Jekyll Island Club Hotel a couple months before that, and I saw the room where the Aldrich Plan, which became the Federal Reserve Act, was written, and then went into the houses that the Morgans owned and the Rockefellers owned down there. So I thought it was close, so why not go down there? People were out vacationing there. I thought I would talk to some people there, see what their opinion was on it, if they had an opinion, which I found a lot of people didn't know a lot about it. So it was a really good experience.
Well, it is great to do that, and I would love to be able to have the opportunity to do something like that, because it is interesting in these places of such historical importance, and most of the people have absolutely no idea about something like how important that place really is and what really happened there. So I can only imagine the dark energy radiating from the room where the actual plans were hatched, but better you than me, I guess. I don't know if I'd be able to stomach it.
It's funny that you say that, because there really was, it was just such an eerie place. You walk in, it's so dark, it's an old building, and I live in Savannah, so I'm surrounded by old buildings, historical buildings, and it was beautiful, but it was also, you walk in and you see a gold-plated door that says the Federal Reserve, and then you see a gold-plated door that says Aldrich's and Rockefellers, and you just get a feeling. I don't know if it was because I already knew what it was or because that was just the energy resonating from that building, but it was definitely a creepy vibe I got from being there.
I can only imagine, but I certainly can imagine what it must be like. And certainly knowing the history has got to add to that vibe, I would imagine. And unlike a lot of the people who live in places like that who have no idea what's going on. All right, well, again, we're coming up against a break. Let's take another short breather. And once again, we'll be back with Joshua Owens and some more of his great music. So stay tuned right there. We'll be back right after these messages.
If you're looking for a change, you might try another place, 'cause the candidates you're looking at are basically the same. There's one on the left and one on the right. Only difference the direction they are facing when they lie. It's a great big game and you are the pawn, a willing contender when you choose to play along. Well, don't be fooled, don't be forced to choose between two men that are controlled by the same machine. It's the same old story, truly it is. Another cast of characters pretends to give a shit about you and me, or whoever votes. Their end game is obviously not what we were told. They want war and destruction, mass death and more. They'll call the population, taken back to just for you. Now when November rolls around, just keep this in mind. You've always got a choice, so choose to decline. To pick a lesser evil, to choose from what you've got. With both sides the same, there's no side to get behind. So just stand together, don't take this anymore. Just keep on fighting in this information war. You aren't the only one you have to answer for, so just keep on fighting in this information war. Keep on fighting in this information war.
All right, friends, welcome back. Welcome back to Corbett Report Radio. Tonight we are talking to Joshua Owens, and you've just been listening to It's Good For You, one of the latest tracks from Joshua Owens. Once again, that is available at joshuaowens.bandcamp.com. It's also up there on YouTube. So once again, the links will be there in the show notes, as we have to, I think, help spread this information and spread the word. And again, I think that spreading the word through music that people find catchy is a good way of doing it. So Josh, tell us a little bit about that song.
That song obviously comes from the joke that is the election that's coming up in about a week. And you turn the TV on and you see the mainstream media talking about the exact same thing every channel you turn it on to, and it's nothing important. It's all about whether they looked a certain way or how they talk, or, you know, and it's not about, I mean, the fact that, I don't know if it's true or not, but the fact that people still say that they're undecided voters really says a lot, because this has been going on for quite a while. And if you don't know who you're voting for yet, if you're voting, then you haven't been paying attention. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's a huge thing that we listen to these people talk. I mean, it's all rhetoric. It makes me angry, which I think it makes a lot of people angry, and it should make a lot of people angry. And so, yeah, that's what the song is about.
Well, I can relate to the frustration. In fact, the only thing that I find more baffling than the people who have decided to throw their lot in with one side or the other of this fake paradigm are the people who are reserving their judgment about which one they're going to vote for, which puppet master they want to bring in. It's just, it's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't understand. One thing, when you listen to debates, you hear one person say one thing and another person say another thing. And one is not true. Actually, most of the time, both of them is not true. Both of the things that these two people are saying are not true. But the simple fact is that they can say it on TV because all people are doing is tuning into the television. They're not going to go look it up. A lot of times, even if people hear on the news later that it was a lie, it's almost like it registers to them like, well, that's what they said, and that's what they remember when they go and they vote, or they talk to their friends and they give their opinions about, you know, whether the Republican is good or whether the Democrat is bad. And it's just frustrating. I don't know any other way to put it. It's frustrating and it's dangerous.
I agree. I agree completely. There's a lot of, unfortunately, zombified people. And I think it's important to also stress that these aren't just zombies by nature. I think that they have been engineered to be zombified. And unfortunately, that's actually increasing as we go into the future. So we have to combat that any way we can. And when I look at a song like Humanity is Rising, it's such a... It is a song of warning, of course, but it's also such a hopeful song. So it seems to suggest to me that there is some sort of something positive coming out of all of this for you, and something that some hope that we can strive towards, some real meaningful hope, not the hope and change that they sold us in the 2008 election. But if it's not to be found in the left-right phony political paradigm, where is that hope to be found? What kind of political solutions do you think we should be seeking for?
To put it simply, I think the hope is to be found in ourselves, in us paying attention to things, and us listening to what people have to say. That's fine, but then go and check what they have to say. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's you or if it's me or anybody. Don't just listen to something and believe it. Listen to something and then go look it up for yourself. Go look it up at a couple of different places for yourself. And I think that it's important that people educate themselves on things, but I also think it is extremely important that people are non-compliant, non-violent non-compliance, I would say. I think that that's extremely important. Like when you see someone, especially when you see a candidate on television telling you that, oh, it's your civic right to go vote, you have to go vote. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes it's not really a choice, especially in presidential elections, because there are two people that are bought and paid for by the same corporations on television, that's bought and paid for by those same corporations, telling you things that you want to hear, so you'll go and vote for them so that when they get in office, they can do everything that, they can do nothing that they said they were going to do.
Unfortunately, that's generally the way it works, and apparently people can go through that process time and time again for their entire lives and still be none the wiser, because of course they throw out the political football issues, and oh, if you're on this side, then you'll vote for this guy because of this policy, or that guy for that policy. Meanwhile, both of them, of course, are in complete accord, and the vast majority of policies that are killing and are injuring and maiming and economically raping people around the world. But let's not talk about those issues. Let's just talk about the political footballs. So to my mind, I must admit I've really fallen out of the statist paradigm over the course of the last year especially, but I think I've been leading up to it for a while. But I just do not see the salvation coming from political action in the sense of voting for people every 4 years or something along those lines. So I'm much more in tune with that message of people being responsible for themselves. Where do you fall in that? Are you advocating third-party politics? Are you advocating for people to take matters more into their own hands in terms of their own survival? Or where do you fall in that paradigm?
I think that third parties are a good thing. I think it's good to have more than two people. I don't know if I believe that, for instance, Gary Johnson, I don't think he's going to get elected because he's not on TV. He's not on the majority of people around where I live. He's not on their front yards. He's not on their front lawns and on signs. And I don't think that, I think that it is an illusion that people believe that they can go and vote, and that is their contribution. And I think a lot of people just sort of stop after that. And I think that's where the problem lies, is people go and they vote, and then they feel like they've done something, and then even if the person that they voted for doesn't win, a lot of the times they just get behind whoever's in there, and then they'll complain about it to their friends, but a lot of times that's the extent of it, and I think that's a huge problem.
I agree. My take on it is that when we vote, it is meaningful in the sense that every time someone votes, it helps to legitimize the system overall. It's kind of like a vote for the system. It's a good system, it's just the wrong people are in charge of it. If we could just get our guy in charge of the system, it would all be better. I think that's fantasy land, but I'm not arguing against people if they want to advocate for third parties and go for political action in that realm. I'm not here to stop them. I just think that we should also be thinking about things that we can actually do on our own level, in our own communities, even, and talking to people and trying to get them aware of some of these issues that unfortunately are proceeding apace anyway. So regardless of who gets into power, what's it like talking to some of the people there in Georgia about the election? Talking to your friends about this? I know that can be especially difficult to raise any sort of questions about because so many people are so invested in their political party.
Yeah, I find it surprisingly, actually, a lot of people are aware that the two-party system is a joke, yet they still play the game because they buy into the fact that it's, their voice, and if they don't vote, then they can't complain. And I don't buy into that. I don't agree with that. I mean, I'm an American citizen, and if I don't like what's going on, then I'm going to do something about it. I mean, I think that's the problem, that people choose to do nothing, or they choose to just complain. But the positive thing is that a lot more people realize what's going on. And I think that for me, I was a Ron Paul supporter, and I have different opinions about that now, different things. I'm not going to get into that, but people were actually receptive to the information that you give them, and they see someone with integrity, and it attracts them to that. And I think that's a good thing, at least for human nature, that people are still attracted to the truth. I think that's definitely a positive to take out of all of this surrounding negativity.
That's true, and I think we have to take those positives when we can, and it's certainly true. I mean, things like the Ron Paul revolution, for whatever it accomplished politically, in terms of what it accomplished in educating people about the existence of the Federal Reserve even, is something of a miracle. I mean, could you imagine 5 years ago having a conversation with people about the Federal Reserve and actually having a lot of them know what you're talking about? That would have been pretty unthinkable even 5 years ago. So there has been some definite accomplishments, and we are moving forward. And as you say, so many more people are waking up all the time, that it's, of course, it's the race to the finish line and who gets there first. But I'm optimistic. If I wasn't optimistic, I wouldn't be here doing this. So that's why I'm here doing this. But how about yourself? Optimistic, pessimistic, neutral?
I'm definitely optimistic, and I agree with what you just said. I don't think I'd be putting out videos. I don't think I'd be working so hard on putting these things together and spending my time on them if I didn't think that there was something to be done, and that there were people out there who were open to those ideas, and people who have been awake a lot longer than me, or aware of a lot more things than I am, who can, I guess, a way for people to come together. And I don't know. I'm definitely optimistic. I don't know. Sometimes I see myself leaning more of the pessimistic, and I don't know if it's pessimism or negativity, or just seeing what's really going on. And it really just depends for me who I'm around, because you can be around people. Like when I went to the Jekyll Island Club and spoke to people about the Federal Reserve, a lot of people didn't want to talk. Which is another problem. I guess, people are so disconnected, but that's another issue. A lot of people didn't want to talk about it. A lot of people who did want to talk about it, they were completely misinformed. And it could have gone worse, but, it was just sort of discouraging to be around so many people that you're at the location where this happened, and a lot of them didn't even know that it was written there, that the original plan was written there. And, I don't know. I
understand what you're saying, because it is such a delicate line that we're walking here as we start to forge this new online, common space. We used to have common spaces in the town where people would go and share ideas, but now it's more like online. So unfortunately, the way it's all divided up, we can get caught in that echo chamber, and we can start to only hear those viewpoints that we already know and agree with, and everything gets filtered through there. And sometimes it can be a jarring reality to go around asking people about things and finding out, oh, no one actually knows about this subject. It's just the people I'm interacting with. And it does create the question of, how do we start that greater societal conversation? And I think part of the answer has to be taking it offline. If we're just getting caught up in our virtual communities, I think we probably are just preaching to the choir a lot of the time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, well, again, that's why I think music is such an important bridge builder between communities, because, again, it's something that's innocuous and it doesn't strike people over the head like a sledgehammer, like some of this information can. It's just a nice way of getting past people's defenses. So, again, my hat's off to you for doing that. And, well, I understand that you have a new video project coming up in the near future. Want to tell us about that?
Yeah, it should be coming out soon, hopefully. Fingers crossed, if I can get it finished. It's funny, earlier you mentioned zombies, and that's exactly what the video is about. And it's more or less how zombies are created, not literal zombies on TV, but people who walk around and just don't seem to care about anything. They're not interested in things that are important. They watch TV constantly. They are medicated to the point where some of them actually are literally zombies. So no, I take that back. And I like to read a quote. This is actually what made me want to do the video, because I thought it was a good, well, not a leap at all, but to go from the Rise of the Robots video to zombies. It's almost, it almost connects, but in this video I'm focusing on a little bit different of a topic. But the quote is, there will be in the next generation or so a pharmacological method of making people love their servitude and producing a dictatorship without tears, so to speak, producing a kind of painless concentration camp for entire societies so that people will in fact have their liberties taken away from them, but will rather enjoy it because they will be distracted from any desire to rebel by propaganda or brainwashing enhanced by pharmacological methods. And this seems to be the final revolution. And that was Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley,
The Final Revolution, Berkeley, 1962. I could quote it like it's on the back of my hand. But we're coming up against a break. Hold that thought right there. We'll be right back after these messages.
The Corbett Report is brought to you by the Corbett Report subscriber, a weekly newsletter featuring James Corbett's International Forecaster editorial, recommended reading and viewing, discounts on Corbett Report DVDs, and once a month, a subscriber-only video. Sign up today to start receiving your copy at corbettreport.com/support.
All right, friends, welcome back. This is Corbett Report Radio. Here we are in the final few minutes of tonight's Monday night edition. We're talking to Joshua Owens, the songwriter and video producer behind such songs as It's Good For You and Humanity Is Rising. Once again, lots of great information and entertainment and truth music and all sorts of stuff coming out from Joshua Owens these days. So just before the break, you're telling us a little bit about the zombie video that you're working on. Will this have a musical component or just be a straightforward report or something of a mixture?
Yeah, it'll be a song and animation.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to it. As soon as it's up, please let me know, and I'll let the audience out there know about it. I forget what I was just going to ask you. It actually just slipped out of my mind. Well, let's direct people to the websites again and tell them how they can access your work.
Yeah, you can go to youtube.com/Jack Jeremiah Johnson. And I just started a Twitter because apparently that's popular.
Yep.
It's Twitter. It's at Joshua H. Owens. And you can go to my Bandcamp. You said it. I think it's bandcamp.com/Joshua H. Owens.
That might be. I'm at joshuahowens.bandcamp.com, but... Yeah. Okay. The right link will be in the show notes, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have any questions, corbettreport.com, and I'll direct you there. So you can go and get that. And from what I understand, you can name your price. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I wanted people, because so many people had written me on YouTube and asked if they could donate money, and which is amazing, and I really appreciate everyone who's done that. But I didn't want to actually charge people to have the song, because what's more important to me is getting the music out right now and getting as many people to hear this song, which in return will get more people interested in the topics I'm discussing, and then maybe wake a few people up. So I didn't want to put a price on the song, and I wanted people to buy it whether they had, even if they didn't want to pay for it, I wanted people to still have the song. So that's really my reason for doing it.
Well, I appreciate that system. I think it's a great way to do it. I'm glad there are resources and tools and online things like bandcamp.com that'll allow people to do things like this. We really are blessed to be in such an incredible age. So Joshua H. Owens. All right, I'm going to follow you on Twitter, and we'll keep in touch. Oh, yes, I did remember exactly what I was going to ask you. I suppose I have to ask this now. So would it be okay to use your songs for bumper music for the radio show?
Absolutely, please.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll definitely do that. We'll add some Joshua H. Owens to the mix. All right, Josh, anything else that you'd like to say or any final words you have for the audience tonight?
For the audience, I would just like to thank everyone who goes and watches my videos and shares them, because I know that's how it's getting around, is a lot of people are sharing them, and that's how it works. That's how people hear these things, and that's how information is spread. So I want to thank everyone who's done that and everyone who's donated. And I want to thank you for letting me come on the show. It's an honor for me to be on the show. I'm a listener. I'm informed by you daily, and I'm sure that's what influenced a lot of the things that are in the videos also. So I think it's sort of just a cycle that, we all influence each other, and it's not a competitive thing. It's just get out there. I'd like to encourage people to take whatever talent you have, even if it's not a talent, start writing things down. Share things with your family if you keep this stuff to yourself. I mean, it really can be a positive influence on you when you get out and you start talking to people. And some people aren't going to want to hear it, but some people are. And when you see that reaction take place, and then you see so many people that are affected and that are informed by the stuff that you put out there, it's just massive. And yes, we are blessed to be living in this time where all I have to do is make a video on my computer, post it online, and then tens of thousands of people can see it. So,
absolutely. Well, we're all learning and growing together, but we're going to have to leave it right there because we're fresh out of time. So Joshua H. Owens, thank you so much for being on the program tonight. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to all of you out there for listening. Tomorrow night I will be back with the promised conversation with Sibel Edmonds of BoilingFrogsPost.com. So until then, thank you for listening and take care.